now Zurdo Ramirez wants to make history as well.
Excuse
he
me?
wants to become a unified world champion. He wants to maybe eventually face Jake Paul. Who knows?
My bad. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Give me a second. I'll be ready by the time the video starts.
If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. If I tell you I'm no good, you know one line.
Yo, what's good, Boxing Talk family? It's your boy, Dr. Boxing Talk, back for another YouTube video. Banger, man. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I know what time it is. The doctor's in the house, man. So check this out. Man, so I'm chilling over here, minding my sweet little business. You know what I'm saying? Watching the Gabriela Fundora versus Marilyn Badia weigh-in, you know, because Gabriela Fundora, the youngest ever undisputed champion of the four-belt era, you know, for all the boxing. You know, Devin Haney still maintains the youngest undisputed champion in the four-belt area for the male side, but for the four-belt era for all the boxing, you know, Gabriela Fundora eclipsed that. So shout out to Gabriela Fundora. She will be defending her undisputed title at flyweight, you know what I'm saying, 112 pounds, and it's going to be a dope card. You know, she's headlining it, rightfully so. And also on that card is also Charles Conwell and as well as Alexander Vazik. So I'm looking forward to this card for real, man. So I'm just watching the weigh and enjoying it. And then, of course, here comes Oscar De La Hoya strolling in to ruin my day. You know, he comes and drops a bombshell on us and says that Zurdo Ramirez could have an unexpected opponent while he's striving for greatness, right? And I'm gonna be honest, man. You know what? Check out the clip.
Torticos fighting his mandatory. Now Zurdo Ramirez wants to make history as well.
Wait for it, wait for it.
He wants to become a unified world champion. He wants to maybe eventually face Jake Paul. Who knows?
Know your fucking place, trash.
So before I address this nonsense, right, I want to say shout out to sorry, not Gabriela. Shout out to Gabriela Fundora too, but shout out to Gilberto Ramirez, aka Zurdo, right? Because he's fighting Junior Dorticos, and despite what you Opetaia groupies are saying and thinking, because I know you're like, oh, he's wasting his time, oh, he's running from Opetaia. Hold on, no. Just like Opetaia had to satisfy his mandatory for the IBF when he fought his last opponent in David Nika because he was a late replacement for Hussein Sankara, who suffered an injury, right, that had him sit out, right, and replaced by David Nika. Other fighters have their mandatories too, and this is exactly what Zurdo is doing, right? He's fighting Junior Dorticos to satisfy his WBA mandatory because Zurdo does have two versions of the alphabet belt, the WBA and the WBO, when he beat Chris William Smith, right? Right. So let's be patient in that regard. And not to mention, Opetaia is fighting Claudio Squayo. I know, a guy you never heard of before, right?
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that? You know damn well who I am. Who the fuck is that?
Yeah, from Italy, never fought out of Italy before. He is an undefeated fighter, so I'm not saying he's not a threat, but that is a voluntary defense. At least Zurdo is fighting somebody else, and it's a mandatory defense. But let's tackle the subject at hand, right? This was always a little fishy. When I saw that Zurdo was fighting Dorticos, we already knew that, because if you've been paying attention to this channel, you already hit to all this information, right? We knew he had to fight his mandatory, satisfy his mandatory, and Junior Dorticos. But what we did not know up until recently, and I talked about it on my live stream, is that Junior Dorticos will be challenging for Zurdo's belt on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
What the freak, you know? And I was like, okay, bet, this feels a little fishy. It's a little suspicious. My spider sense is tingling. My hood sense is tingling. You know, when them things are tingling, something ain't right. You know what I'm talking about? And sure enough, Oscar De La Hoya has revealed his master plan, right? Like Pinky in the Brain, his masterful plan that hopefully fails just like Pinky's did.
You dumbass.
But we gonna see, right? He is on the undercard of Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. because he's hoping that they could both win, as in Jake Paul wins and Zurdo wins, and they could potentially match up for a future fight, man. And that is trash.
Know your fucking place, trash.
Now, I know people are going to blame Zurdo. I don't think this is Zurdo's idea. I don't know, you know, but it is part of his team. But this is just another effort of Oscar De La Hoya to just throw a wrench in the plans of great boxing fans. You know what I'm saying? I think responsible boxing fans want Shakur versus Opetaia, another thing that Oscar dragged his feet on, and I still don't trust is going to happen until they actually hop in the ring and that first round bell goes ding. I'm not sure if it's actually going to happen, but at least we're getting a little hotter with that, a little closer to bringing that into fruition. So we saw that's another Golden Boy fighter that dragged his feet with Shakur. Then we also had another Golden Boy fighter and Kid Austin that dragged his feet with Shakur. And now Zurdo, who I give the ultimate benefit of the doubt, I think he wants to strive for greatness, and I think he wants a Opetaia fight just as much as Opetaia wants the unification as well. But I don't know about Oscar. So now it just seems like, you know, it's a repeated theme. You know, it's happening habitually, man. Oscar's just trying to be snakish, you know. So like I said, he's just talking about it. Doesn't mean it's actually going to come into fruition. But if you know how boxing works, when two fighters are on the undercard and they're in or around the same division, when two boxers are on the same card and one's a main event and one's the undercard and they're in or around the same division, then it's pretty feasible to, you know, anticipate that this fight could happen next. You know what I'm saying? It could very much so happen, man. So I hope this fight doesn't happen. Now, will I be too mad at it? Because if the timeline is appropriate, I ain't gonna be too mad, but I will be disappointed as a real boxing fan. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Jake Paul, what he's doing. He's actually promoting boxing as a promoter. I think he's fantastic, especially for the women's divisions. But at the same time, too, simultaneously, I don't really enjoy his fights because he's not fighting real boxers. You know what I'm saying? He's fighting retired basketball players like Nate Robinson.
Yeah.
He's fighting retired MMA fighters like Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren. And then when he does fight a semi-pro boxer in Tommy Fury, he loses. You know, and his last fight was against an icon in Mike Tyson, but he was also a geriatric iteration of this icon. You know what I'm saying? He was 30 years his senior.
Damn. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 60. So that's just too much, man. You know, and I didn't like it. But at the same time, too, I respect his hustle as a businessman, but I don't have to enjoy it as a boxing fan, you know, and I don't. So I don't want to see Jake Paul versus Zurdo right now. I would rather see Zurdo fight Opetaia just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? In fact, I probably want to see it more than everybody else, you know, because I'm a big boxing fan, and I want to see Zurdo versus Badu Jack or Badu Jack versus Opetaia. You know, if Badu Jack comes out on top against Noel McCallan on the undercard of the Cinnamon fight going against William Skull. So there's some things that should happen at cruiserweight first before we start exploring the circus acts, you know what I'm saying, with Jake Paul, you know. But hey, it could happen, man. I'm a little disappointed. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that. You know, I hope it doesn't come into fruition. What I really want to see is Zurdo and Opetaia in the future. But, you know, they could be potentially holding that off for a future 5v5 as well. We got to keep that in mind because, remember, they have been exploring the possibility of a 5v5 between Golden Boy and Matchroom as well that Turk will facilitate, you know, Turkey out the shake. So maybe that's what they're saving it for. I don't know. But let's not pretend like Zurdo would be going for greatness by fighting Jake Paul. Until I hear from Zurdo, I'm gonna withhold judgment. But right now, Oscar De La Hoya, kick rocks, because you wildin', man. I don't want to don't even play like that, man, because that'd upset me. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, man, y'all let me know what y'all think about that, man. Zurdo versus Jake Paul, potentially. Y'all let me know in the comments, man. And I don't want to hear no, I told you he's running from Opetaia.
Shut up, bitch!
Ain't no, he's not running from Opetaia, man. The fight just hasn't happened, and this is Oscar's fault. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it anyway.
Yeah.
From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.